I know it's not quite December yet, but I wanted to give you all a bit more time to scrounge these together for the Transformers fan in your life, or to request from whomever it may concern. So welcome to PerspectiveEnd Recommends Christmas Gifts 2025 edition. But first, your likes! Please give and maybe subscribe. I'm only going to be recommending things that I think that there's a reasonable chance that you can find for its normal price or near it, be that in-store or online. So while there are tons of things that I think are good enough to recommend, this is just the stuff that might serve you well on this Christmas, hopefully without breaking the bank, or just by being that one really big present that someone gets. The first one I'm going to recommend is one that at least a few people will be confused that I'm willing to put my name behind, even though I think it was pretty clear in the video that I did that I really like this, because it seems like there is a pretty sizable fraction of the population who is of the belief that you can't have issues with something and still really like it. 86 Megatron. So many people were furious at my take that this isn't the 86 version of the character, but I stand by that. So you know what this would have been perfect as? Devastation Megatron. And that's what I'm going to treat this as from now on. Because again, I'm fine with Megatron not being a gun. It just can't be an 86 version of him because that's not what he was like in 86. But as a Devastation version, this thing is awesome. Honestly, it rules. Now to be fair, the tank in the game didn't quite look like this one. That thing looked more like the Minor Wars one, which it is only at this very moment that I realized was coming out at the same time the game was. It feels so much more recent than that. And I might have just realized a second thing. I've always attributed my getting back into the fandom to first the Takara Legends Black Arachnia, and then secondly to the MP Soundwave for making that stick. But perhaps the true culprit is Transformers Devastation, because I definitely played it when it came out, and that might have rekindled my interest in the fandom enough to make my YouTube algorithm pick up on it and start showing me stuff about Transformers again. Anyways, on the subject at hand, this is just a slick figure. It looks fantastic, it poses really well, the transformation is very fun. Really, the worst thing I have to say about it is that the fusion cannon is hideous. Seriously, this is quite possibly the worst fusion cannon design that has ever looked anything like itself. That shit that Megatron had in the movies doesn't count. Also, thanks to my longtime fan, Denny, I now have this, the Killing Arm upgrade kit for the 86 Optimus. And you may think that I'm going to take the fusion cannon from it and use it here, but you'd be wrong. The peg for it is too short to fit in the hole and not get knocked off by a passing breeze's sad ghost. Plus, there is this weird cut here. I don't know why. It just looks bad. But you see, I have discovered that the mushroom peg has a normal 5mm tip on it. Behold! Truly, a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. And man, the transformation is just so fun and satisfying. Seriously, grab this Megatron. It's definitely one of the best toys he's ever gotten, even if it's not and never will be an 86 version of him. But I will cherish my Devastation Megs here. Now, I've not reviewed this thing yet, and it's not like it's amazing, but it is really nice, and that's the Age of the Prime's Alpha Trion. Dude looks like Ron Burgundy as a wizard in a Bad Kid's costume that doesn't properly fit him in a school play in 1974, and I mean that in the best ways possible. This dude has such delightfully rancid beige decade vibes. But it's not just that he looks like the deeply fun kind of tacky, he's also just kind of really important, and something I never even considered that we'd get. I flat out just thought, yeah, we have an Alpha Trion, so it never crossed my mind that a young one was a possibility, even though this is what he looked like in one of the most important moments in all of the Transformers history. So that alone will probably sell this dude to the G1 fan in your life, but then there's also the fact that this thing is just pretty good. It's built solidly, it's well painted, it poses well, transformation is interesting and inventive, even if a good bit frustrating, especially in the knees. My hands hurt so bad. Fuck these knees and their borderline fusion to their covers. Okay, yeah, really, fuck these knees. While writing this, it took me 6 minutes to get the left knee apart, and I actually did some damage to the figure, so maybe consider shaving off the tabs that hold these down. Anyways, after all that, you get this new version of a space surfboard, which, you know, given that this is the most derided type of alt mode in the entire fandom, they didn't have to do. I think we all fully expected this to be an 86 Scourge again, so the extra effort is really appreciated. Now, if only I knew where to store this weapon. I think that they decoed this alt mode exceptionally hard just to try and stop people from complaining, so while the transformation is definitely the weakest part, and the alt mode isn't amazing given, you know, it's a space surfboard, I think that this is more than worth the recommendation. Seriously though, those tabs on the knees were tiny. How did they hold it down with that much tenacity? Then, as much as it may shock you, Age of the Prime Slingshot or Flyer Flight. Either or. It really doesn't matter which. I think that this mold is good enough to pick up on its own, even if you don't get the rest of the team. And if it does motivate you to buy more of the aerial bots, then just stick to the other arm and Silverbolts, maybe pick up the Combiner Wars versions for the legs, because they will technically work. Seriously, the other two from this set just make the whole team worse. But this isn't about them. This is about the dude with a butt crack for a forehead. Or the dude who doesn't, but did rip off the dude that should be like the lamest one in all of the Transformers. I don't know if that means that Fireflight has vision or absolutely no self-confidence, but it is kind of by default making him the better of the two, because he doesn't look like Woody Harrelson playing a motorcycle cop whose hair fell out when he was dunked in toxic waste. It's not really too complicated with this one. Aside from lacking wrists, there's no place where this thing poses below average, and having maximum elbows is always a huge boon. And the alt mode is actually really good, being one of the few Jetformer designs to actually absorb the mass of the robot mode into the alt mode rather than it just being a jet backpack on a basically untransformed dude. But I think most importantly for this figure is that it just has a banger transformation that you want to do over and over. So not only does it make the robot mode disappear into the alt mode, but it doesn't overcomplicate that like most plane bots who achieve that tend to do. I'm shocked, but basically there is no no area where this thing fails to be fun. Then, as much as it annoys me to do it, let's give a recommendation to another thing that I've yet to get around to reviewing. This time two somethings. The Hearts of Steel, Bumblebee, and Megatron 2-pack. This set is a bit expensive, yes, as these are both about deluxe scale, but you're paying almost Voyager price for each. And I will say the nicest thing that I can possibly say about that, it's not a laughable notion that they charged this much for these. These are really cool alternate designs that aren't just G1 again, which is something that we don't usually get anymore. They are both painted a good bit more than usual, and their QC feels great. I'm really here for this cowboy aesthetic. It's sick as hell. And man, it'd be cool to shake up the live-action Transformers movies by setting them in the past. Like the Bumblebee movie only went back 40 years and it was way better for it. What if it was a movie that was set like even 100 years ago? Think of all the ways that you could kill Cybertronians by having stockbrokers fall on them in October 1929. Also, do you want a fidget toy of Megatron? Because damn, look at the spin on that shoulder wheel. Posing on both of these figures is pretty good. I think that Megatron is the better of the two on this front, while Bumblebee got the better paint job. Honestly, the biggest problem I have with either of these robot modes is that Megatron stands remarkably dick forward. Man looks like he broke his lower spine and is about to fall in on himself. I'd definitely say that there are frustrations on the transformations for both of these, but they are at the same time also both very interesting, and I mean, where else are you going to get a Napoleonic cannon Megatron and an adorable chumbly little train Bumblebee, outside of mechanic toys? I think that for the most part, this is going to be the most accessible option if you want a Hearts of Steel Bumblebee. Plus, there's no other way to get this version of Megatron. And then another multi-pack, and this time it's something you've already seen. I think actually bringing the value the most out of anything on this list. It's Age of the Prime's unnamed 4-pack. A Voyager and 3 Deluxes for $100 in this economy. That's actually a pretty good deal. Even if we all do come to agree that the We Have Missing Link at Home Optimus is a Legends figure as it truly is. But last week I already covered all 4 of these, and I think probably the single most important thing to bring up is that none of these have trash QC. Every other 4-pack Hasbro has ever released through Target up to this point has felt like they were going to crumble into dust in your hands. And these things have their problems, like the Nemesis's hips are fairly loose, but do you notice how they swap sides with every flick and then don't droop at all? They are loose, but they do hold acceptably. Now I did receive comments that some people had gotten worse copies, however, those seem to be in the minority. So I am currently of the expectation that yours likely will be fine like mine was. So once we get past the remarkably minor QC quibbles, considering that every other 4-pack Hasbro has put out has had like one bad figure and the rest felt like they were constructed out of phlegm, all we are left with is 4 interesting toys. Like, did we need a not missing link Intercore Ultra Magnus? Not really, since we don't have the armor, but it was always a super cool color scheme. And this thing being better QC than the original, I at least finally get to appreciate this mold. Meanwhile, the Bumble Jumper is just a solid way to get a hold of the 86 Bumblebee if you've never handled it. This thing is like only 10% worse than the original in any way, though it does kind of make it the most boring and redundant of these dudes, as he's basically identical. Legitimately, you could make this yourself with just a head swap on the 86 one. Having either version of this might just serve you fine. Then there's the new coolest look for Nemesis Prime. I am so happy to have this one. The engineering on the other version was so awesome, it made me really want to look past the fact that I thought this design was about as ugly as an inbred baby raised exclusively on uncooked roadkill, but the new colors and the fact that they bothered to cover his face make this much less punishing to look at, even if he does still stand out as having an odd aesthetic, and it finally lets me fully appreciate this figure with its excellent posing and fantastic transformation. Seriously, just a better paint job and giving Optimus a faceplate like you should only ever have do these things so many favors. And then we have Horrible, and I would love to show you this thing standing next to his hubby of Needle Nose, but unfortunately about a month before this came out, I actually gave that thing away to Lego Man. Whoops! Anyways, this one is at least interesting. Something I hadn't really realized when first reviewing this thing was how much of a skull crusher / crockery tool it had been. It's largely just in the back of the torso and the arms, but even there they did change the claws entirely, both in shape and how they interact with the hands and wrists. And with the exception of the thighs and the knees, everything else on this guy is completely new. So there is a good bit of connective tissue in here from the parent mold, but it is absolutely an evolution of it. It's just a shame that that evolution was in service of a male stripper in the bulgiest panties he could find. Honestly, what I like most about this thing, though, is just the alt mode. Look at this damn devil dog. I swear it's about to burst out of a refrigerator and kidnap Sigourney Weaver in a very kinky way. Between Horrible and Needle Nose, which one is Zool and Vince Clortho? Because I feel like Needle Nose has those Vince Clortho vibes. Oh god, now I'm picturing Horrible as a power bottom, and I want my brain to exit my head at high velocity in order to redecorate my walls. Anyways, yeah, a good 4-pack. Who'd have thought it was possible from Hasbro? Currently, they are trying to strangle the life out of this fandom with their extreme price increases, and here, sitting on shelves right now, is a reasonably priced box set that I think will probably make people pretty happy. And lastly, and super briefly, because I really want to do a full review of this, if you have a Beast Wars fan in your life, yes, MP Rat Trap is good enough to recommend. I do have my problems with it, like the feet are too small, so it really likes to fall over, but yeah, this hits. This is what I needed. This has made me very happy, and I'm pretty sure that it will make other Beast Wars fans happy too. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer, and this time it's the Lazy NG-Bot with Titan's Return Rewind. Definitely the most hardcore version of the little guy ever turning into a tank. Not quite his traditional alt mode, but I don't think that's necessary because people really don't tend to associate Blaster's tapes with him, right? Like, he goes with his tapes, but his tapes don't really go with him. They get to be their own characters. There is seriously something to be said about simple toys, and this one looks to be one of those basic but fun joys in the fandom. I've never handled one myself, but I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about these guys. Lastly, it's time for the monthly well wishes. If you'd like a well wish yourself, please just send a request to the shoutouts email. First up, happy birthday to Soup Jinrai, the man who forced me to review 86 Jazz after I already reviewed 86 Jazz with just pure insistence. I hope this message puts a smile on your face on your birthday, and thank you for being an absolute mad lad. Happy birthday to Gleaming Colt, whose was on the 24th of this month. Congratulations on getting an 86 Grimlock, man. I'm so happy to hear that you finally managed to get one of the best figures of the last decade. And he sent along some fan art. I look spooky as hell, man. Thank you very much. Then Tarantula Ace on Instagram's birthday was on the 23rd, and that fully bamboozled me because he has the same name as Gleaming Colt and their days are one day apart, so I had to check back and forth on who was who while I was writing these. Anyways, happy birthday, man. Sorry this is late. I hope yours ruled too. And lastly, Drawformation YT made me these excellent pieces of fan art that he drew up a while back, but only just now sent me. Thank you so much, dude. These absolutely rock. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.